Hey, what's up, y'all? Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about how to communicate better, to strive towards what I'd like to call impeccable communication. And this will have applications in your work life, your personal life, building your career, better intimate relationships, better friendships, really all over. First, I want to start off by, asking the question, how do we get to this point where we don't communicate well and we're constantly having to explain ourselves and constantly having to clarify what we mean? And in my experience, it's come from getting used to this form of conversation and communication that we have when we're venting or ranting or getting something off of our chest, to where we speak in a certain way and then we start to conflate that form of communication with the constructive, detailed kind of communication that we need to use whenever we're actually trying to solve a problem. What are some examples of the ways that we communicate when we're venting that aren't valuable, that aren't useful or constructive when we're actually trying to solve a problem? Well, first things first, when we use words that signify some sort of absolute, we tend to be speaking from an emotional place where we're just basically trying to make ourselves feel better, trying to blow off some steam. So words like always, never, constantly, continually, these words, they can have value, but if you're using them to describe or complain about a problem, more often than not, you're trying to evoke an emotional response. You're not trying to actually provide information. So, what's an example of this? Well, you probably can see it multiple times a day in your relationships, be they professional, personal, what have you. Things like, they never seem to get their work done on time. You always ignore me. You never listen to me. You're constantly complaining. That's not really valuable in terms of being able to actually lay out a situation. And you need to be able to actually dig into examples of behavior that you disagree with or evidence of certain results or behavior or consequences that you can actually speak to so that you can provide information to your boss, your partner, whomever it is that you're actually trying to solve this problem with. So don't conflate this venting with actual constructive communication by using these words, like I said, these qualifiers, this always. If you say to somebody, you always act that way, is it really true? Of course not. There are times whenever they behave in the way that you would like them to. There are times when they do listen. There are times when they're not quick to judge. You just happen to be ignoring those times because it's much easier and simpler to say that you always do this, you never do that. So that's one big example. Another area that this happens in a lot is where you tend to confuse opinion or a foregone conclusion with facts. And it may seem like fact to you, but instead you're using an opinion or you're using, like I said, this foregone conclusion. You've already come to a decision about something and you're basically stating it as a fact. So an example, my professional life might be this new hire, it's not working out with this team. Steve in marketing is trying to tank this project. These are things that you've already decided, that person's intent, that situation, you've already determined that it's over. It is, it's done for. There's no saving it. You have said things that aren't necessarily a fact, but in your mind, it's a fact. It's absolute. It's objectively true. There's no changing your mind. So in that situation, so let's use that example of, Steve in marketing is really trying to tank this project. Unless Steve's an idiot, doesn't like his job, he's not actively trying to sabotage your project. That's your opinion about his intent and the intent behind his behavior. So maybe if you come into a situation less certain about what somebody's trying to do, you can just present the examples of Steve's behavior that are contrary to your belief about how the project should go and how it should be executed on and when it should be done and all of those things. An example from a personal relationship might be a friend of yours who gets drunk when you're out together and he or she is making you look bad by association. And you might say, damn, Susan just can't keep it together. It's like she's trying to make me look awful. That's your assumption. It's your opinion and your perception of how Susan's behaving. So instead, if you're talking with a friend and you're trying to address this behavior, going back to Steve, giving examples of the things that Steve's done or the emails he's sent, the conversations you've had, his actions in meetings about the project, the way he has handled planning and execution of the project, being able to go to your boss or your peer or your partner or whatnot, being able to actually present these as fact as opposed to your impression, it sets you up to actually be able to constructively try to address a problem. Otherwise, if you say Steve's trying to tank this project, you may have a boss or a peer who takes that opinion of yours as fact, and now you both believe that this project is past saving as far as Steve's involvement is concerned. So instead of maybe coming to some sort of understanding of where everybody's coming from and being able to course correct, you're already starting out from a place where this is doomed from the start. And Steve and this project are simply not going to coexist going forward. So those are two big areas that I've noticed. There are several others, but the usage of a foregone conclusion or an opinion stated as a fact is one huge thing that I've had to recognize over the past couple months. And if somebody says that this person's not working out, I need to stop and ask them, well, in what ways? What do you mean they're not working out? Can you give me an example of feedback you've gotten or examples of their behavior and how that is not meshing with what the team or you or somebody else expects? So ask qualifying questions. Get to the bottom of what the real behavior is. Oftentimes, it's not that people intend to do these things, like use an opinion as a fact, or to use these generalizations or qualifiers of always, never, etc. They just are rushed for time. They feel like they don't have the time to eloquently state the facts. They just don't necessarily value the situation as a high priority, so they're not going to communicate as many of the facts as they have, or to paint a clear picture. Sometimes people do have an agenda and they just want to give you the information that supports their point of view. But as a leader, especially, you need to focus on communicating in an impeccable fashion. And you need to hold people to a higher standard so that they know when they're talking with you, when they come to you for help, when they come to you for advice, they can't come in with this bullshit of a 2-sentence email and then wanting you to act. They can't come to you, pass you in the hall, stop you really quick and say, you need to talk to Steve because shit's not working out on this project. That's not enough information for you to act on. No self-respecting leader would just go based off of 5 minutes of hearsay, nor would they act on an email or an instant message or whatever it may be that has the bare minimum of information. You need to be able to make informed decisions. And if you don't have the time to give all the details, or your peers, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your husband, your friend, your parent, whoever it may be, if they don't have the time to provide you with that information, then you need to accept that either A, it's not that important of a problem right now if they can't be bothered to provide that information, or if you can't be bothered to organize and give that information, or somebody in this situation needs to make sure that they get the priorities in check. Because it's all too easy, and I'm sure we've all seen it a million times, to get that email that has 2 or 3 sentences of information on it, not have all the details, not have any of the details really, and you go to act on that because that's just how you do. You're go, go, go all the time, and you just want to be able to react to everything with as little information as possible. Well, for the critical problems that you need to solve, for the critical situations that you need to address, you need to get that information. You need to demand it of other people, and you need to basically ensure that you're all communicating in an impeccable fashion. You're communicating the truth with a desire to get to the bottom of any situation. And if you can't be bothered to spend the time to do that, then you need to reevaluate whether this particular thing is really worth your time and attention right now. I hope this is helpful. I'd be glad to answer any questions in the comments on communicating impeccably and just being more open, honest, transparent. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.